Hi, this is Anise Matthew. I hope you're doing well. I'm back again to talk about April 2022 and some of the themes we might see play out as the month goes on. March was pretty intense in a lot of ways, and I think that the global climate certainly was conducive to making it feel as though it was a pretty rocky ride around the world. So, what we're going into in the month of April is we still have this uncertainty in the climate, like we don't really know what's happening. And we also have this idea of the transits playing into the concept of having fear being brought up within us. Now, the biggest key with this is to understand that the fears that are happening, or we have the earth is going to be transiting all the fear gates of the spleen. And what that could bring up is these splenic fears that are concerning certain types of energies that are not necessarily true, as in they are overblown or maybe made bigger than they truly are. And because of that, we could be plugged into these fears and triggered by a lot of things that are happening all around us, and yet it may not be as dire or as horrible as we are perceiving it. But because of the earth transiting, as I said, all the splenic gates or all the fear gates, it could bring up a lot of that energy, especially if you have any of that energy that is defined in your body graph. And those would be the gate 32, the gate 48, the gate 50, also the gate 57, and the gate 28, as well as the gate 44. This happens every single year. The earth will always transit these gates at this time of the year. But if we add in the idea that Saturn is in the gate 49, and it is disturbing this concept of how are we supporting ourselves? Are we feeling supported? Do we feel we have a voice in the world, or are we just feeling as though we're voiceless and the powers that be are taking us where they want us to go, and maybe we don't have any say in the matter? And then also we have Saturn stirring up this concept of food insecurity. Are we going to have enough food? Are we going to be fed? Are people being fed? Are the people that need it the most getting what they need? And we do see that that's playing out in the real world, and that we see that people are suffering, and food insecurity is a big part of it. So Saturn is really showing its hand as it's been transiting through the gate 49, and it won't be moving until the first week of May. So we have another full month of Saturn showing us where we can do better. Then we have Mars meeting Saturn right in the beginning of the month, and it really is sort of the rockiest time, we could say, of the month, because Saturn is going to come together with Mars, and Mars is not very patient with getting things done, finding out where we need our support. And if we're not getting what we need, then that's when people are saying, okay, we need to do something different because this just isn't working. From a relationship perspective, this can be saying that you're not feeling like you're being supported, or somebody is telling you they're not feeling supported. This could be revolting in the relationship, saying that things need to change, that you need new rules to be enforced because you just can't continue the way you always have been. So this is really pushing us to find a new way, a new path. This is really looking at the phoenix rising from the ashes, but it can only do that when we have decided what is worth fighting for, what is worth letting go. And when we decide that, we can start on that path towards where we want to go with our future. We also have Uranus making a big move from the gate 24, which has been connected to the gate 61. We've had a lot of that last year. We had this idea of trying to figure things out, and the same kind of things completely revolving in our mind over and over again, like a frequency of what does it all mean, and potentially even paranoia and anxiety about not knowing the answers to the things that you want to know the most about. And this is really where we're charting a new direction. We're deciding where we want to go in the future. Especially anybody who has a gate 14 hanging, you could potentially feel a lot of this energy where you're starting to want to go in a very unusual direction, in a place that maybe you never would have thought about before. But overall, we're all looking at where are we going in our lives, because the gate 2 is said to be where the magnetic monopole, or what we might call our internal GPS, GPS that takes us where we're meant to go in our lives. It puts us on the path that is specifically made for us. You could say that it puts us in the flow of our lives. So all of us are going to be activated by this energy where we're starting to try and figure out, where do we want to go in our future? What kind of a world do we want to build? Where do we want to put our resources? And how do we make the direction we're going in something that makes us feel like we really want to go there? Something that makes us feel like there is hope in the future. There is something to look forward to. So that's where we're sort of looking to the future when we come to Uranus moving into the gate 2. We also have a conjunction of Jupiter and Neptune, and that's going to be happening in the gate 36. And a lot of people have been talking about this. Now, Jupiter and Neptune, they always come together every 12 or so years, but they don't always come together in Pisces, and they don't always come together in the gate 36. Neptune is exalted, or it is in its best form, or it brings the exaltation to the gate 36, but it only comes every 165 years or so. So Neptune hasn't been here for at least 165 years. So we know that we don't have this energy on planet Earth right now. So it is now bringing this energy, and it's transformative energy. The other thing is that when Neptune or any of the slower moving planets like Pluto, Uranus, when they transit through a gate, they transform it. So we're talking about a transformation that is happening in the gate 36. But this transformation is under the veil of Neptune, because Neptune doesn't show what it's doing. It only does its job. And only when it's gone do we start to see what exactly happened. But the key with this is that when we have energies going through the second line, the exaltation, or even through the whole gate 36, like Jupiter is going to be, it may give us this opportunity to illuminate what is actually happening behind the scenes. The gate 36 is a desire. It is something that we need to do because we feel that we need to get some excitement in our lives. We need to get a new experience. The whole point of experiences in life is that we are able to have an experience, move through it, experience it to the very maximum we can, so that we will have a good memory about it. And when I say good, it doesn't mean that it was a good experience as in the good and bad, but it is a well-documented, clear experience and a memory that will stand the test of time, something that you can share with other people, that you can document in some way. Because if you don't get that full experience with experiential energy, you're always going to want to do it again. And the thing about experiential energy, it is a lot of times a one and done. And if you have a lot of experiential energy and you try something and then you move on to something else, other people might look at you and say, well, why do you continue to do that? But that is part of the process. And it's part of understanding that is the chaos or the crisis that comes in the gate 36, is this idea that we are going in inexperienced and coming out with something that we have experienced, and that would be the gate 35 after it happens. Neptune in the gate 36 line 2 is called assistance in a time of decline. It really does talk about this idea that a time of decline is not forever, but it's expected. There's always going to be a time where things are not getting better, they're getting worse, and then it kind of bottoms out and then it gets better. And that's what this is really talking about, this idea that we do have these times of decline in the world all around us, but eventually that stops and we start to move forward. When we get Jupiter in there with Neptune, Jupiter makes everything bigger. Jupiter talks about rules, laws, it talks about higher education, it talks about religion. So what is it trying to illuminate? Where are the crises in these particular topics globally? Because what's happening is we get this concept of this doesn't work. There is a crisis. There is chaos here. We need to resolve it. We need better plans. We need better something. And this is where Neptune is pointing it out, but it's only pointing it out in a way that it is being illuminated when we have a planet coming through and potentially seeing that there is something that we need to improve. So that's the hard part about it, is that we may not necessarily always know what's being unfolded or unveiled unless it just kind of comes at that particular moment. It shows us, we react or we do something about it, and then we move on. And With Jupiter going into the gate 36 and also the gate 36 too, where it's going to meet with Neptune, it will be exalted as well because Neptune brings its exaltation to any planet that goes through the gate 36 line too. We also have Venus and Mars going through the fates, and that is just giving us strategies to work through the energy of life when the path is not as smooth as we want it to be. The nature of surrendering to the world that is around us and understanding that there are ways that we can mitigate when we are feeling as if we're stopped in our tracks. And the fates really give us strategies on how we can actually do that and feel empowered by having a strategy that can allow us to go forward in life and not feel as though we're always being pushed back. So it is a month of really watching that we're not getting triggered by these anxieties and fears that we might have within us, and knowing that we might feel something that is much bigger than it truly is. Being able to sit with it for a little while, these fears that we have, and using fear for our own purposes as a strategy so that we can feel safer in an environment instead of allowing fear to use us. And that's a difference in how we can work with our fears, see that fear is part of being human. And if things get to feel overwhelming, to get out in nature, to get away from the world all around us, to listen to some good music, or to do those types of self-care things that you like to do that make you feel as if you have a second breather and you can cope with whatever the world is showing you. So that's a month in a nutshell. And if you don't have more time to listen to the more detailed aspects of what we'll be expecting, then at least you have a little bit of a snapshot for the month, so you can navigate the energy and successfully feel as if you've got it no matter what is happening all around you. You have the resilience to keep walking one step in front of the other. So that's it for the transits. I hope you enjoyed them, and I will be back again for the new moon on April 1st. And until then, take care, and I'll see you again soon. Bye for now.